Jordan Walsh drops 22. Derrick White takes out the trash, which worked perfectly because the Wizards were already collecting themselves by the curb. What's up, everyone, and welcome in to your Celtics source for this instant reaction as the Boston Celtics absolutely just dominate the Washington Wizards, winning 146 to 101. Was not a competition throughout the entire game. The Wizards, they did keep it close through the first half, but straight out in the third quarter, the Celtics just pull away and they never look back. Thanks to Derrick White, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Jordan Walsh at the top of the show, but more importantly, they do it without Jaylen Brown. And Jaylen Brown, he gets the full night off, gets to rest before a tough back-to-back against the Los Angeles Lakers tomorrow night. And I think it's important just to start with talking about the improvement of Derrick White. It's been a rough season. We talk about this after every game. It seems like he's doing, at least now he is not, completely out of it. He is making plays and rebounding and facilitating even when his shots are not falling. But it does seem slowly but surely, one step forward, another step back, two steps forward, one step back, up and down, but he's starting to get his shot back. And without Jaylen Brown tonight, he had to be the main playmaker, the dominant force offensively, and he did just that. And right, you can say all you want about how bad the Washington Wizards are, but it's a mindset, it's a mentality for Derrick White right now. It's not about the opponent he's playing, because when he's on his game, it doesn't matter who he's playing. He'll score against anybody, and he just hasn't been doing that because of sort of how lost in his own mind he's been. So this was a get-right game for Derrick White, certainly. And, he plays just 29 minutes. He gets to sit the entire fourth quarter, which will help them out tremendously tomorrow night. But he scores 30 points on 12 of 21 shooting, but 5 of 12 from 3. That's the most important thing. It's still not 50% by any means, but it's well up from that low 30s he's been shooting. And he brings 7 rebounds and 8 assists, a near triple-double for him. If not for him being taken out in the fourth quarter, he would have probably had a triple-double. And it's just great to see. I said this before, but it's just great to see Derrick White finding his rhythm offensively, because the Celtics have had a somewhat easy schedule to start the season. Yes, they have played teams like the Cavs, the Knicks, the Wolves. They're going to play the Lakers coming up tomorrow. But it hasn't been a super, super tough schedule. They haven't played some of the best teams in the Western Conference that they're going to play eventually. And they're winning in spite of Derrick White not playing at a high level, particularly because of some of the role players around this team, which we'll talk about. I talked about Jordan Walsh at the top of the show. We are certainly going to get into Jordan Walsh tonight. But you're going to need Derrick White just for the offensive production and really, quite frankly, the defensive production coming up soon. So it's great to see that Derrick White is not going to be a shooting catastrophe the entire season. He's going to have ups and downs. I don't think he's going to finish the year, maybe as high as we would like him to finish. He's not going to maybe take that 10 steps forward that we were hoping he would take this season. But what he is going to do is he's going to be in every play. He's going to hustle. He's going to rebound. And he's going to fix that just horrific shooting and get back to even keel, which we certainly saw tonight. All right, I do want to keep this pretty short, as we're actually going to do a podcast episode this weekend after the Lakers game which we'll talk about this game certainly. We're doing, if you don't know, a podcast episode after every 3 games, and we're actually going to go live for tomorrow night's game, and then instant reaction, and then the podcast coming out Saturday afternoon probably. So a stacked, next day or two here, which is why we're going to keep this short. But I do want to quickly talk about Jordan Walsh, a career high. It seems like every game he's bringing it up a level from what he had done the previous game. In this game, 22 points. It's his 11th straight start, something like that. 8 of 8, does not miss a single shot in this game. 1 for 1 from 3, 5 of 6 from the line. Just a ridiculously efficient night from a player that has stole, really, quite frankly, the show this season, just by how he had been pretty much written off by everyone, and he's found a way to not only be your best defensive player right now, he is a consistent force on the offensive rebounds and the shooting. He is knocking down threes, something that we just have not seen from him the last couple of years. And he, I think, can be your 6th man of the year next season or in years future when they're contending full on for a championship. Quite frankly, I think he could even be in the starting lineup because he can fit perfectly, complementary with what Jason Tatum brings. And that defense is something that, cannot be taken for granted. Moving on, I do think that we quickly have to talk just about the rotations that the Celtics are doing. They are definitely playing a lot of small lineups with a Josh Minot and Hugo Gonzalez at the 5. And quite frankly, that's because we take Neemias Queta out of the equation. Neemias Queta is having a terrific season. I think he's made the second best improvement from the previous year after Jordan Walsh, for sure. He's not fouling as much. He's knowing when to set screens and get out of screens quickly. He is a consistent force in the lob threat from Derrick White, Peyton Pritchard, even Jaylen Brown when he's playing. It's just great to see that you have a center, at least, that is, excelling at a position that we thought was going to be the biggest problem coming into the season. And quite frankly, it is still the biggest problem, but it's the depth behind him, right? Luka Garza, pretty much unplayable. Xavier Tillman, pretty much unplayable. 2 guys that, you're expecting to take a couple minutes away from Neemias Queta so Neemias Queta can get rest each night, and they're incapable of doing that. And so the Celtics have had to find a way, particularly Joe Mazzulla has had to make a decision about, do you play small against some of these big lineups that are going to consistently bother you on rebounds and second chance opportunities with just the height they're going to have around the basket. And Joe Mazzulla has made the choice that you're going to have to give up and live with, a couple rebounds, sometimes even 8, 9 offensive rebounds a night. But the defense overall is better on, first chances, and you get enough of these rebounds despite the size that you can just get out in transition, get easy points on, coast-to-coast plays from Peyton Pritchard, from Jordan Walsh. Jordan Walsh had some massive dunks in transition in this game. And quite frankly, they're actually rebounding well. Jordan Walsh is a big part of that. Jaylen Brown, when he's on, he has picked up his rebounding intensity as well. He knows that you can't win games with a sub 70% defensive rebounding percentage. And the Celtics, they're still low in the defensive rebounding percentage, but it's up from where it started the year. And they're doing a better job of, even when they give up on these, or not give up, they get out rebounded and teams get second chances, they stay with the play and make another stop, allowing them to, basically secure the rebound and get out, score the ball, which their offense is improving with these transition plays, and they're just, quite frankly, they're not falling asleep on that second opportunity. You know, they realize that sometimes they're just not going to be able to get the rebound. And so they lock in and they make the stop and they continue to win these games. What is that? 3 in a row. They are now 4 games above 500. They're in the top 6 of the Eastern Conference. Just something that I don't know if anyone had, planned at least this early in the season. So with that being said, I am going to wrap it up here, keep this short. But just know we do have some tough games coming up. And we'll see. This could make or break the season for the Celtics. But I think we all can say this team is not a bad team. They are definitely a team that is in contention for the playoffs. That is going to be the topic of our podcast episode this weekend. Are they playoff contenders? So stay tuned for that. And until next time, go Celtics.